was brought up, say in business, that you have to go out and you look at what the competition is doing and you have to beat the competition and go one better than the competition. Oh my God, that wore me out. That wore me out. And then I started realizing that this is more about communion than competition. There's enough for all of us. Yeah. The old human was in that lack space. Competition is always a lack thing.
It's Retreat and Grow Rich, the podcast. I'm Darla LeDoux, best-selling author, coach, and retreat leader. And I'm on a mission to normalize transformation on the planet, one intimate retreat at a time. This show's dedicated to the coaches, consultants, healers, leaders, and light workers who are here to hold space for the truth that transforms lives and get paid for it. Expert retreat and business tips, strategies, stories, and magic. It's your weekly mini retreat delivered right to your ears. Let's do this. Hello and welcome to today's episode of Retreat and Grow Rich, the podcast. Thanks so much for being here. You will love meeting my guest today. Her name is Oge Okosieme, and she is an expert at what it is to become a new human. Welcome, Oge, to this experience. I'm super excited to share you. And one of the reasons that I really wanted to interview you and share you is, we've been Facebook friends for quite some time. I don't even remember how we originally connected, but I feel I've watched your transformation via Facebook. And one of the things I really love and admire about you is you're constantly sharing yourself and your own life and your perspective. And you're also sharing your clients' successes.
Yes.
And, every time I see you give a shout out to someone, it just warms my heart. And I know the kind of work you're doing for the kind of results that your people are getting. Yeah. So thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm looking forward to this. It's been quite a transition for me. And I was just saying to one of my other Facebook friends last week, this is the year I've actually decided to be a lot more visible with what I am doing, because those parts of me you witnessed was actually me kind of dipping my foot in the water and coming back out again, but signing up clients in that experience. So it's been a really cool way to learn from my own experience, have clients who want to go that journey with me. And then this year I thought, that's it. I'm going to play full out this year.
Well, I can't wait to see what that looks like. I'm right with you. My intention for this year is more visibility to my entire community and to the type of work that we're doing. And I'm going to ask you a little bit later about your clients and the things that they deal with and struggle with, because there is a certain magic. And the last series that we did was all about what I call the rich skills, right? Those right-brain, intuitive, connected, heart-centered skills. And you're speaking to those people. You and I are on the same mission to help people like us get more visibility in society, because we're doing so much of the work that needs to be happening right now, and kind of like secretly under the radar. So,
I know, it's the secretly under the radar. That's a hilarious bit. And then you talk to other people, and other people are like, secretly under the radar too.
Exactly.
And it's like, oh my God, you're kind of my secretly under the radar kind of person. And actually that's how I connect with my clients, because I talk and people will email me. This is the interesting thing about being secretly under the radar, is people don't want to come out. It's like having a bad cocaine habit or something. People don't quite want to come out, say on Facebook.
Yeah.
But they'll message me and say, oh my God, that post so resonated with me. Can we have a conversation? And I get that quite a lot. So you won't find, I did a post the other day saying you won't find my clients actually
commenting.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
I don't, because we're all secretly under the radar, but
yeah, I can't wait to see what happens when this underground like conversation and economy, you know, goes to the next level of visibility.
Exactly. I think we're
Very exciting.
getting there now. I think people are getting a bit more kind of losing it's not even shame, it's the uncertainty around it, because that's where the new human experience has actually come from, because we are all having right now a new human experience. For me, I've transitioned from an old human to a new human.
Yeah,
And
so
then,
let's talk about that, because that's my first question is like, share about this whole new human thing. What does it mean and how should we think about it?
Okay, so old humans had a certain way of being. And for me, that came as my aha moment when I was in my no man's land phase. So I went through a period where everything I knew, Darla, just started to break down. All the structures, all the strategies, everything I knew that used to work for me, it's like I go and it doesn't work. And it was all that outward way of doing things that had worked in the past. So that's one thing about the old human, is that old human focus pretty much on actions, like what I call outward actions to get things done. So I would go out and I do the marketing, for example, I do all those outward things, they just stop working. Yeah, and that pushed me into my no man's land. I started realizing I'd become a new human when I was forced actually to start relying on other ways of doing things. And those other ways are what I now call my inner authority, really trusting my inner being and coming from a place of energy first. Really coming and trusting that that energy will guide me to my next step. But I actually started noticing that other people were going through that same dilemma. And when I introduced the energy-led way, boom, things would start to flow again, you know? So that's one way of old human. There are other things like old human was in competition a lot. So I was brought up saying business that you have to go out and you look at what the competition is doing and you have to beat the competition and go one better than the competition. Oh my God, that wore me out. That wore me out. And then I started realizing that this is more about communion than competition. There's enough for all of us. Yeah. The old human was in that lack space. Lack is always, competition is always a lack thing. And then I started
this way of talking about it and thinking about it. And I'm curious, when you talked about when people get energy first, you know, that's part of my work from the core of my you know, when I went to coaching school is all about energy. What's that look like for you, energy first?
Well, energy first is now what I've now come to call my inner authority. So energy first is about trusting your intuition, for example, going inward and seeing where intuition wants to guide you. So it's a suite of things. It's trusting your inspiration. For me, that was the biggest one, because I was always okay with my intuition to a certain extent, but inspiration and trusting where that inspiration was taking me, because sometimes my inspiration was taking me to what I now call the edge, okay, to edge dwelling. And it's like, oh, is this okay to go there? And inspiration will say, that's the only place to go right now. You have to move from the center to the edge.
I love it. So intuition and inspiration, how are they different?
Intuition is like a message. Intuition for me, I can say how they're different for me. So intuition is usually a message. It's short, sharp, and sweet. Yeah, it's usually a direction. Do this, do that. Don't do this, don't do that. Go here, go there. For me, intuition is short, sharp, and when I ignore intuition also, it never changes. So I could ignore it, and 2 weeks later, to my demise, it's still there going, turn left, turn left, turn left. Do you see? Short, sharp, and sweet.
Short
There's
and
no
sweet.
concept, no idea, nothing to expand on. For me, that's my intuition. Inspiration, I get downloads of concepts and ideas, and usually with inspiration, I had to sit with it for a while and start to unpack it. Okay, so the new human experience was an inspiration, and I'm still unpacking it 2 years after. Do you know what I mean? So
Yes.
there's an unpacking, and it's a concept, and it's an idea, and it's an action when it's inspiration.
Yeah. It's like a body of work.
Yes, that's it. I love how you're saying it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So one of the things, obviously, this is the Retreat and Grow Rich podcast, and I know you have a live experience coming up this year. One of the things I'm such an advocate for is using retreats to help unpack it.
Yeah.
Right? Because that concept comes in, and people, a lot of times they get a vision for a retreat, but then their mind comes in and complicates things.
Exactly. And sometimes when those visions come in, Darla, you're so up close to it too, it actually helps to have somebody like you start to go, have you looked at this? Have you looked behind you? Have you looked forward? Because when our concepts are downloaded, we are actually part of that concept. We're not separate from it. In fact, we are the concept.
Yes. Yes. Preach. Well, that's a great segue actually into the Transforming Out Loud, this theme of this series, because you know what I find is that I love the way you've defined intuition versus inspiration. And inspiration, it sounds like, so intuition, it's the same all the time. It doesn't go away. It's like, this is the thing you're called to do, or that you have to make this choice or whatever. Inspiration could, if you don't, what I'm hearing, if you don't jump on it, it could go away, or it could change.
Yes, it could go away. You actually have to nurture it.
Yes.
For me, again, and actually for my clients, what I find is when we don't nurture and build a relationship with this inspiration, it will actually start to fade and start to recede. It might come back again later, but it doesn't stay with you in the way intuition does.
Yes. I had Liz Gilbert on my stage a few years ago, which was really cool. And so I, read Big Magic and gave it out. And what she talks about, like the idea comes, and if you don't act on it, it's going to go to someone else because it needs to be birthed through someone.
Exactly.
And I loved that way. And she shared a story about a really specific book she started writing, and then she stopped, and someone else wrote basically the same book. And it was very detailed. So super interesting. And you said, we are part of it. We are the message. It's living through us. So, that really relates to this idea of transforming out loud. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I find it to be a blessing and a curse. That's what I've signed up for. That life lives through me. The lessons come through me, meaning that my life is a mirror for the lessons that not only that I need, but other people need, right? And that's how the work gets developed. So what's been your experience with that?
My experience, I refer to myself, Darla, as an explorer and a scientist. I am a multidimensional explorer, a multidimensional scientist. And so and then I have some core truths as well in that, which is one of my core truths is one of responsibility. Okay. I am responsible for myself, and I am responsible for the wisdom that comes out of me. I do hold that as a core truth, and I'm okay with that. But what that means is that I will often experiment on myself, before I go out and teach. So I might look like I'm taking my time doing things. Sometimes I might actually look like I'm putting myself into risky situations or dramatic situations. And what's the point? Because Oge has to experience and has to feel as an explorer before she shares. So that's my experience of doing things. And that's where it can be a curse and a blessing. Do you know what I mean? Because I have to feel how cold the water is before I say to people, from my point of view, that water is crystal cold. And that's a curse element of it. But
so how has that? Go ahead.
No, the blessing element of it is I'm usually ahead of there doing things long time before everyone else is doing. And that's something I've had to own over the last 2 years. It's actually taken me in the recent times to start owning that I am a visionary.
Yes.
And in that sense, I do things before everyone else does it. And that has its own blessings too.
I think that's part of why there's this underground conversation.
Yeah.
Because society has all these values that we see beyond. And I know I've had the same experience of like, well, obviously I'm the crazy one.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
So tell us a little bit about some of your experiments, whether you chose them or spirit chose them for you. What's been the most interesting part of your journey in the last couple of years from old human to new human?
Well, one of my experiments has been, moving from the idea that we have a problem and we need to be fixed, especially from a business perspective, where we've been taught quite a lot in business that business is about looking for a problem and providing the solution. And I get that, okay? And my experiment has been coming from a place of, what if there isn't a problem? And what if things are as they are and there are just a group of us who are just simply bored with the way things used to be or the way things are, and we want to create a new experience. So it's not so much about what's your problem, let me have a solution. My approach now has very much been, what can we create that's new? What do you want to create that's different? That's been challenging.
What's been challenging about it?
Because most people are still steeped in the idea that where we are is a problem and we need to fix it. Okay. And that's been my no man's land, bringing it back there for the last 2 years, is playing with my language, playing with even how I feel about fixing problems, even dropping a lot of my beliefs and my ideas and my structures around fixing problems. Approaching my clients with the idea that I'm not necessarily interested in what you're struggling with per se. I'm interested in what is this new thing you want to create. And that's been an exploration and a half, because I still come up bump against my own ideas about it, against my own conditioning about it, and against like the world's conditioning around it. But in my heart of heart, I do know that I want to create new experiences, not necessarily solve problems.
I so relate to that. And all of the traditional marketing advice is, what is the problem that you solve?
Yeah.
And it's risky to decide not to follow that flow. It really is. And so I'm going to ask more about that in a moment. I'm curious because I'm imagining, and this could be my own problem thinking, so could be totally off here. I'm imagining if you make a declaration like that to say, hey, there are no problems. We're focusing on the desires or the light, as I sometimes talk about it, then we might immediately see a mirror of the places where we're still in problem thinking. In other words, like shit hits the fan. And I'm curious, did that happen at all?
That happens all the time. all the time.
And I'm coming from a perspective, I'm sharing in this series as well, some things that have happened to me in the last year. I mean, not like, like I'm all evolved, right? And things that have happened that I'm like, whoa, okay, there's clearly a lesson in this. And where I could say, oh, this is a problem. Or I can choose to say, oh, isn't this an interesting spiritual lesson?
Exactly. Oh, you can change the whole lesson dynamic, because the whole lesson dynamic actually is focused on the idea that there was something we are lacking, therefore we need to learn. So you could change the whole lesson dynamic and say, what's the experience in this? What's the experience I am having in this? And that changes that whole dynamic from even a problem to what am I exploring next? And, going back to that thing about literally shit hits the fan, it happens. I will say to my clients, yes, we are focusing on a new experience, but if you could have that new experience now, you would have it. You are not yet the person who is having that new experience. And there's a reason. And the reason is called dropping all those things that is getting in the way of you having that new experience. And it's those things dropping off that's called shit hitting the fan. Okay?
Yes.
Yes. You know what I mean? So they're not necessarily a problem. They are things dropping off. And sometimes I will say to my clients, one of my roles with you is to help clear the path so you can get to your new experience. And clearing that path is a shit hitting the fan, because there's a lot of stuff we have been conditioned with, a lot of beliefs we have.
Yes.
But even clearing that stuff is part of the experience of having that new experience. It's part and parcel of it. It's not separate from it. So it's really, for me, it's been redefining how I see those problems. Because the minute I see it as something we have to fix, the energy I bring to it is different.
Yes.
When I see it as an experience, the energy I bring to it is different. And that's why I have so much fun and so much success with my clients, I think. Because I do bring an energy of exploration and experience to the whole equation.
So, okay, what's been something that came up for you that, or has it at all, where you felt challenged to remember, oh, this is an experience that I'm exploring?
All the time.
Could you share a story with us over the last 2 years? What's been the most challenging?
Oh my God, what do I share? I could even share, like the weekend. Oh, where should I start? I don't even know, because it happens every single day. Every single day something will happen, and I will automatically go into a thought of, oh my God, I've got to fix this. Yeah, I've got to fix this. My knee has been playing up, for example. It's really been playing up over the last 3 months. Okay, so I'm somebody who's usually quite fit. I go out and I'm always rushing around. I don't like stopping. And then my knee has been playing up. And initially, my initial reaction was, I need to fix this. I need to fix this. I need to go to the doctor and I need to fix it. I need to do this. And my son, who's on that same wavelength as me, said, no, Mom, you don't need to fix anything. You need to have an experience of slowing down. You need to slow down. And I've known this for a while, that I just need to slow down. But sometimes that conditioning kicks in and I keep feeling like I need to be doing. And what the knee has created for me, like hurting sometimes in the way it does, because sometimes when it hurts, I will just slow right down. So things like even walking, I'm like a power walker. Now I'm slowing down, I'm walking, and I'm actually noticing things that I didn't notice before. And here's the interesting thing. Since I listened to my son and I started slowing down, the pain has eased.
Mm.
And then the temptation is to start going like that again. And then my son says to me, Mom, slow down. Slow down.
And is that a parallel for life?
My life has been about slowing down, and it's so painful sometimes, the whole slowing down. But it's painful because it's a different experience.
Yes.
But it's an experience I've asked for. I just didn't see it coming in this format. And that's part of the shit hitting the fan. Because you have expectations. My experience of slowing down was it'd be all fairy tales and da-di-da-di-da. And it's like, what is this?
Now, do you think that you were invited to slow down before, but it wasn't easy to do? So your body's like, let me help you.
Yes. I've been invited to slow down for the last 2 years and constantly like slow down. And yeah, that's exactly what's happening, Darla. My body's like, okay,
yes,
you'll listen to this because your legs mean so much to you.
Yeah. Wow.
Anything else I could have ignored, but my legs, my knees, my legs, because I am such a physical person, I'm not going to ignore that. But since I stopped seeing it as something to fix and something as part of my experience, yeah, that has changed. Because I don't make the discomfort important anymore.
It's interesting because we, those of us who are in this conversation, first of all, know and get the value of slowing down and leaving space. Like for me, I think of it, I have a whole retreat called the Lazy Bee. And it's interesting the different reactions that people have to the idea of lazy.
Yes.
And the concept is really around leaving space to tune in, to nurture, to allow those inspirations to come through. When we don't have space for them, spirit can't work through us.
Exactly.
And so we know this intellectually, but yet overachiever, do the right thing. It's challenging to slow down. And I think it's also challenging what you've committed to, which I love, to have marketing be all about the light versus what's wrong that we need to fix.
Yeah.
It's challenging to kind of go against the grain in our culture.
It has been. I've had people, when I say I want to do this new experience, they try and flip it and say, but you're still solving a problem and da, da, da. And I'm like, yes. If you want to see it that way, you can. It's about how I'm choosing to language, because that's affecting who I'm attracting and where I'm choosing to focus.
Yes.
And I actually found a coach last year who got it completely. And she really helped me change a lot of things around. So there are, like you said, there are quite a few of us underground.
Yes, amazing. Yeah. So how has transforming out loud or sharing, and you mentioned Facebook and people will message you privately, like how has that impacted your business?
Oh my God, like I said, it's all those people, Darla, who are hiding. It's all those people who are hiding. It's them I'm reaching out to. So it's impacted my business on the one way that I am getting people flowing in. Then we go back to the traditional way of doing things. So one of the traditional way of doing things is like in business, credibility, okay? And one of the ways of getting your credibility is through testimonials. Okay? My clients are not necessarily that keen on going on a video and go, when I first started working with Oge, da, 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 and then now happened this, this, this. I'm actually doing work with my clients where I'm also a spiritual coach with most of my clients. So my clients stay with me long term. Most of my clients have been with me for a year. okay? And it's ongoing work. And there'll be things like one of my clients will have a contract, for example. And she says, Oge, are you available before I go into this meeting? Because I need you to get me energetically ready for this meeting. So those are the clients I'm working with now, which is really different. But they're not about to come on and give me like a traditional marketing testimonial.
Well, this is interesting because, part of getting from this underground network to being more visible is not being ashamed to say, hey, I need this support.
Yeah.
And I think I've been reflecting on this a lot because I pay a lot for my mindset support. And, there are moments where I think like I could be paying like 3 team members,
I know. Yes.
Yet I know I need that.
Yeah.
And that level of support. So, the more I'm just, maybe for your followers or your clients who are listening to this and mine, like, let's come out of the closet about this.
I think there is a coming out of the closet. I don't think it's so much shame with my clients. It's the uncertainty, because I'm on this new journey, this different journey, and my clients are going on a different journey too. And I think it's more the uncertainty of the journey that we're on that's having people kind of hide behind closets just in case, because it is an uncertain journey. I mean, I will ask my clients, what do you want to achieve in our time together? And then I will say to them, I'm going to use that as a focus, what it is you say you want to achieve. But for me personally, I don't give 2 hoots about what you want to achieve. What I'm interested in is a powerful creator you become in that journey. I really don't care, but we will use your goal or what you want as a focal point.
So what you want gives people enough commitment to actually move through all the uncomfortable things.
Yes. Because everyone comes through a process with me, and what everyone gets out of it is trust and confidence that they are powerful creators, and it doesn't matter what that goal is at the end.
One of the things that really strikes me about your work and how you're showing up is you're so specific about who you work with.
Yeah.
And even though it seems like they may be in different walks of life or doing different things,
they are.
There's this, I in reading your website, and I'm sharing this because I really want people to get like the depth of understanding that if you have this about your client, it's so much easier to connect. So just from your site, you have a few principles or challenges that your people have. The creative thinker dilemma, the challenge of being comfortable with the unknown, like being that person who's okay on the edge, has a whole other level of challenge. Your insatiable drive for knowledge, the loneliness of being resourceful, and when you see through bullshit. And, we don't have time and space to go through these, but I really recommend that people connect with you and learn more about this. What was your process for getting so clear about who your people are?
Because that person is me. It's as simple as that. I decided a long time ago, or a few years ago, that my ideal person I'm working with is someone who's walking a similar path to me. And that's for me. That's what I decided. So when I started writing those things out, I had a process I went through where I was writing those things about myself. And I'm like, yeah, you know how it is to be lonely because you're resourceful. Yeah. And I bet there are other people, back to that underground thing, there are other people who are lonely too because they are resourceful. So in a sense, I am speaking to myself, but we are all connected. We are all connected.
Yes, I
So,
love that too, because there's so much, my background in corporate, I was a product development engineer.
yes.
And, I started doing like engineering of plastics and chemicals and things, but I moved into consumer research where we would interview customers. And I know there's a lot with surveys and things, and which can be good in our industry to send surveys because maybe there's things that are in our blind spot. But I've always gravitated towards speak your truth.
Yeah, me too.
And that saves so much time.
It does. I actually don't do surveys.
Yeah.
I stopped doing them years back when I
People
first
don't
started.
know what they really need.
Exactly. So I started creating what I am called to create, what I am inspired to create. And I know that if I am inspired to create something, it's not happening in a void. It's not happening in a vacuum. So if I'm inspired to create something, there is someone out there who's also inspired to connect with me. And the creativity, the challenge, if you like, or the creativity comes in me finding the language and the communication to connect with that person.
Yes.
But it doesn't change that inspired creation. What changes is how I communicate it.
So beautiful. Because even when we did research in corporate, like what people said they wanted wasn't what they really wanted. Like the effective research, we would go live with them and watch them, in their lives. And people
That's so
they
true.
don't know, but when you give voice to it, they resonate.
Exactly. A lot of times, especially in these times, Darla, especially in these times where things are so up and energy, we're transitioning. And what is happening is we are moving to a different reality. We just don't have a blueprint or a structure or a step-by-step for it. Hence why everyone's now knocking all the gurus that they all wanted the step-by-step from. Yeah, it's because we don't have a step-by-step for anything now.
Yes.
Do you see what I mean? So
Yes.
when people like you and me come up with a voice, we give people footsteps in the sand to at least follow.
Yes.
And that's what people are looking for. Footsteps in the sand to follow until they have the confidence to create their own footsteps.
That's beautiful. Love it. So, okay, how can people connect with you?
I've got these questions I ask because one of the things I love playing with, I am a coach by profession, and one of the things I love playing with is questions. So I've got these questions. They're called 15 creative questions to help you gain clarity on your audacious vision. Really, because that's who I like to work with. You have to have that audacity to go for it.
So bit.ly/15 vision questions. Beautiful. And we'll put the link in the show notes as well. So people can link right from, so if you're listening to this on iTunes, if you go to alignedentrepreneurs.com/podcast, you will be able to find the show notes there as well. And we'll have the link.
Yeah. And you can also connect with me on my Facebook business page, which is, if you type in The New Human Experience, you'll find me there.
Oh, I'm not following that. I'll go do that.
Yeah, I do some cool stuff on there. There's some cool videos on there around some of these topics we've spoken about.
Beautiful. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. It's been a delight to connect with you in this way and share your work with the world. And I want to like fist bump you and like we're doing this together.
I hear you.
Keep up the great work.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Bye. Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening. People won't pay for transformation, they told me when I started my business. Thankfully, I didn't listen, or at least I didn't listen for very long. This is Darla, and I have been offering transformational retreats as a part of my business model for years. I've earned millions of dollars through hosting retreats, and here's what I want you to know. It just may be that overtly adding the transformational component of your work into the way you offer your services is the most powerful and profitable choice you can make right now. I'm talking about not sneaking transformation in the back door, but actually designing your business around this work you hold so dear. If you're intrigued, I invite you to check out our brand new live retreat experience just for leaders like you over at retreatandgrowrich.com/retreat. Extraordinary retreats require exceptional leaders, and we can't keep sneaking our magic in the back door a minute longer. The world needs your genius. retreatandgrowrich.com/retreat. Head on over there today.